I used to think heavy minerals was just a nerdy geology phrase. Then I realized it's the one phrase that explains why some people consistently find gold, garnet, magnetite, and other dense concentrates, while most people walk the same river and see nothing. Because rivers don't reward effort, they reward physics. If you understand where heavy minerals collect, you stop guessing, you stop wasting time, and you stop doing the one thing that gets beginners in trouble, panning in the wrong place, or worse, panning in the wrong kind of land. So today I'm going to do two things at once. First, I'll show you the types of U.S. rivers and river sections that naturally concentrate heavy minerals, places where the river is basically doing the work for you. Second, I'll simplify the access and rules so you don't accidentally step into a protected area, a restricted zone, or someone else's mining claim. This is not legal advice. Rules can change and local closures happen, but these are the most consistent, real-world rules used across federal lands in the U.S., plus a few well-known public access examples. Let's start with the core idea. A river is a sorting machine. When water loses energy, it drops the heaviest material first. Gold is famously dense, about 19.3 G centimeters, and most river sand and common rock fragments are much lighter by comparison. That density gap is why gold and other heavy minerals don't float through the system evenly. They concentrate, and when you see black sand, you're seeing the river's heavy fraction. It doesn't guarantee gold, but it proves the river is doing the kind of sorting that gold follows. Now here's the part most people get wrong. They search for gold rivers, but what they really need is heavy mineral behavior, the places where dense material naturally stacks up. So before we talk top rivers, memorize this mental image. Heavy minerals collect where the river slows down after being fast, where water changes direction, where the river hits bedrock cracks, and where the river repeatedly reworks the same gravel through seasons and floods. That's the physics. Now let's talk access, because in the US, the biggest mistake isn't technique, it's location. The three land categories that decide what you can do. 1. National parks, usually a hard no. In the national park system, recreational collecting and gold panning are generally prohibited, with rare exceptions in special park rules. The National Park Service explicitly states that collecting, rock hounding, and gold panning are generally prohibited under 36 CFR, and the General Resource Protection Rule includes minerals. So the simple rule is, assume no in national parks unless the specific park has written guidance allowing limited activity. 2. National forests, USFS, often yes for low impact, but know the threshold. The Forest Service has a formal framework. If your prospecting and sampling won't cause significant surface resource disturbance, a notice of intent is generally not required, and the regulation explicitly lists activities like gold panning and non-motorized hand sluicing in that low disturbance category. If your activity might cause significant disturbance, you move into the notice of intent, plan of operations world. 3. BLM public lands, often yes under casual use, but watch claims in special areas. BLM defines casual use in a way that generally includes hand panning and non-motorized sluicing, and the rules are designed around minimal surface disturbance. And here's a huge practical point that saves people headaches. Even if the land is public, mining claims can exist on public land. So before you treat a spot like free for all, you check claims. BLM's MLRS system is the modern tool BLM uses for land and mineral records, including mining claims. That's the federal framework. Now we can finally talk about top rivers, but I'm going to do it in a way that keeps you safe and makes sense. I'll name rivers and public access areas where heavy minerals are known to concentrate, and I'll tell you what kind of land management logic usually applies there. 1. California, American river system, mother lode country. If you want the classic American story of heavy minerals stacking in river gravels, it's hard to beat the American river region. But California is also where people get themselves in trouble fastest, because they hear gold country and assume anything goes. Here's the clean, practical version. In California, motorized suction dredging permits are not being issued, And the state has restrictions around dredging, vacuum systems. The California Department of Fish and Wildlife states it is prohibited from issuing suction dredge permits under current law. So if your content is access and rules simplified, your safe baseline in California is hands in pan, minimal disturbance, check the exact site rules. A very clear example is Auburn State Recreation Area, tied directly to the north and middle forks of the American River. California State Parks has a fact sheet stating recreational mineral collection is permitted in certain areas with hands and gold pans only, and with location restrictions. From a heavy mineral perspective, the American River system has what you want. Riffle-to-pool transitions, inside bends, long gravel bars, and seasonal reworking. Classic conditions for black sand and dense concentrates. And if you're filming, it's perfect visually. Cut banks, terraces, and bar layers that look like a geology textbook. 2 California, Kern River, Keysville, SRMA, BLM. If you want a clean public land example, where the agency itself acknowledges recreational gold panning, Keysville Special Recreation Management Area is a standout. BLM's own page lists recreational gold panning as one of the activities at Keysville. This is valuable because it reduces ambiguity for your audience. You're not relying on rumors. You're pointing at a named recreation area managed for recreation, where panning is an expected use. Heavy mineral behavior here is straightforward. Big river energy, lots of coarse material, and pockets where heavies drop out. 3 Colorado, Clear Creek, Front Range, Fine Gold Country. Colorado is a perfect place to teach your audience the difference between big nuggets and realistic heavy concentrates. Clear Creek is famous for fine gold, which means your visuals shift toward black sand, microflakes, and careful concentrating. For rules, Colorado is also a great federal framework example. In national forest contexts, the federal regulation explicitly recognizes low disturbance prospecting and gold panning as generally not requiring a notice of intent when it won't cause significant surface disturbance. So Colorado becomes a teaching tool. Here's how to stay in the low-impact lane. 4. Arizona. Lynx Creek, a public panning culture hotspot. Arizona is one of the most iconic states for modern recreational prospecting, and Lynx Creek is the name that comes up again and again. From a content standpoint, it's powerful because the setting is visually distinct. Dry country meets seasonal water. And the heavy mineral story is easy to show. Dense concentrates, black sand pockets, and small gold. The main caution in Arizona is still the same. Land status and claims matter, and rules can vary by management area. Your safest presentation is to frame it as a check-first system, not a do-anywhere system. 5. Georgia, Chestatee, Etowah region. Yes, the East has real gold. A lot of U.S. viewers, especially newer hobbyists, mentally put gold only in the West. Georgia is how you break that bias. Georgia's Environmental Protection Division has a specific page describing a recreational mining exemption. Hobbyists panning for rocks and minerals recreationally do not need a surface mining permit. That's a strong, rules-simplified moment for your script. It's not automatically illegal. What matters is scale, method, and land ownership. And on the heavy mineral side, Georgia streams can produce classic black sand concentrates in the right trap zones, especially where flood cycles keep reworking gravels. 6. Oregon, Rogue River region, but don't confuse access types. Oregon is famous in prospecting circles, but it's also where people mix up different kinds of access. Boating permits, wild and scenic restrictions, and what's allowed on specific stretches. The key thing your audience should take away is not go anywhere on the rogue. It's know what kind of stretch you're on and what agency manages it. And the same federal logic applies when you're on national forest or BLM managed lands. Low-impact methods are treated differently than mechanized disturbance. Now that's the top rivers, top regions layer. But your title is about heavy minerals collecting, so I want to make the video feel more scientific and more useful by giving people a simple field checklist they can apply anywhere in the US, even if they never visit the rivers I just named. The Heavy Mineral Collection Checklist works on almost any river. If you walk a river and you want to predict where heavy minerals stack, look for 5 things. 1. Inside bends with long gravel bars. The inner curve is slower. That's where heavies settle. 2. Boulder pockets and obstacle shadows. Behind a rock, water loses power. That pocket is a natural concentrator. 3. Riffle-to-pool transitions. The river changes gears. Heavies drop at the shift. 4. Bedrock exposure, especially cracks. Cracks don't just slow water, they physically trap dense grains. 5. Dark bands in cutbanks and gravel layers. A darker, denser band near the bottom is often the river's heavy fraction, black sand, magnetite, dense minerals, sometimes with gold mixed in. Now pair that with a rules checklist. The Access and Rules Simplified checklist, the one that keeps you safe. Before you step into the water, ask 4 questions. 1. What land is this? National Park, National Forest, BLM, State Park, private property. If it's a national park, assume no, unless the park has written allowances. 2. What method are you using? If it's low-impact hand panning and minimal sampling, you're often in the casual use, no major disturbance, lane on BLM and in the no significant disturbance lane on National Forest land. 3. Are there claims? Use BLM's MLRS to research mining claims and land records. 4. Are there local closures or equipment bans? California is the clearest example where motorized suction dredging permits aren't being issued under current state law. The safest baseline is hand methods unless your location explicitly allows otherwise. That's it. That's the entire Rules Simplified framework. And once you present it this way, your video becomes more than a list of rivers. It becomes a system your audience can reuse anywhere. Now, I want to bring it back to the big idea, the thing that makes the title true. Heavy minerals collect in rivers because rivers have memory. They sort material during high-energy events, then seal it during calmer cycles. They abandon channels, they build terraces, they expose old gravels during floods and cutbank collapses. So when someone says, "This river is loaded," what they often mean, without realizing it, is this river has the right traps and the right history, and I'm standing in the part of the corridor where that history is being exposed. That's why one bend produces and the next bend doesn't. Not luck, energy, traps, storage, and exposure. If you want, I can turn this into a tighter, top 10 format with exact named public sites and a clean on-screen checklist. But even as it stands, you can record this as a 15-20 minute voiceover and cut it over footage of drone corridor shots, cutbank layers, black sand macro, riffle-to-pool transitions, bedrock crack traps, and a short tray swirl demo to visually prove sorting. And the final takeaway is simple. If you want heavy minerals, gold included, stop searching for magic rivers. Search for the physics and verify the land status. Because the best finds in the US usually come from the places where the river is doing the concentrating for you and where you're operating within the rules.